Welcome to the next instalment of the Braidwood ride. At the end of the last one I was just mentioning I was going past a place called Inverrochy that used to be an agricultural college, and I just crossed that bridge a moment ago. It's called the Inverrochy Bridge over the Mulwarry River. So to recap, I'm on the Braidwood Road. I passed through a little village called Torresgo, and I'm heading east of Goulburn towards Braidwood. And I've been talking about, in the last video I talked about something called toxic positivity. I tried to think about what I would talk about this time. Were there any particular subjects that sort of jumped into my mind, or things that were in the news at the moment that I could talk about, and nothing specific came to my mind, so I thought I'd just talk about the road a bit and then see what happens. So I said I'm on the Braidwood Road, and I talked about in the earlier video the state of this road, and sometimes the condition of it is quite good, as it seems to be at the moment, with a centre marking and markings on the edges, and the shoulders seem to be reasonably good, and there are even those little white posts on the side of the road in places, but that's not the case for all of this road. And as I said in the last clip, I think it's probably a B or possibly a C class road, and I assume that it's a state road that is maintained by the local councils or private contractors who are given contracts obviously to do work on the road. If you are going to the coast, in other words to Bateman's Bay, or north to Ulladulla and Nowra, or south towards Narooma, Merimbula, Bega, that area, and you were in Goulburn, then you would take this road. If you were in Bowral or Mittagong or somewhere like that, and you needed to go to the coast, you would go down Macquarie Pass to Wollongong, or you would go down Camberwarra Mountain to Nowra. If you're in Queanbeyan or Canberra, you would go through Queanbeyan and on to the King's Highway, which this road will meet later on to get to the East Coast. So the point of all that, I suppose, is it's a major road to the East Coast for people who live in Goulburn, and during summertime, spring and summertime, it has a fair bit of use. So the condition of the road is a relevant factor, leaving aside all the arguments about fuel taxes and car registrations and all that that's supposed to go to road maintenance. It is a road that's used a lot. The section we're in at the moment, you can see, is open country. There's a bit of tree line on the right-hand side ahead there, but it's mostly open country. It's just pastoral country, mostly sheep, and I think there are some cattle as well. Mostly, as I say, therefore, agricultural land. The railway line that runs from Goulburn through to Queanbeyan follows this road. It's up on the right-hand side of the road, and in a previous video, not of this clip, not of this ride, but of another ride, I talked about something called the biomass intermodal that is at Torresgo, that is used, the rail line is used for. Now we're just coming into a small village here called Lake Bathurst. Lake Bathurst, there is a school that's been closed since the 70s. There is a church which no longer has services. There's a cafe on the right-hand side just coming up, or a place that has been a cafe and tea house, and several times has been in business and then operated for a while and gone out of business, just gone past it there on the right-hand side. There are a few houses, and then on the left-hand side just ahead here is a turn off to a place called the Gilmore Inn, which is a farm stay sort of bed and breakfast place. It's a place that I think some people have moved to Lake Bathurst. Some people have moved to because it's far enough out of Goulburn for land values and housing and all that to be a little cheaper, but it's close enough to commute each day without it being a bit of a drag. There is actually a Lake Bathurst, which is on the left-hand side behind the hills, actually closer to Torresgo than it is to Lake Bathurst. And as far as I know, it has water in it all the time. There is a road that goes up towards Lake Bathurst, but I don't know if you can actually go to the lake or not. I mentioned the railway line a little earlier. You might be able to just see parts of it up on the right-hand side above the cutting there. And this section of the road, as I'm just talking about the state of the road, you see it's got patches on patches and potholes and so on. And sometimes there's road work here and sometimes there isn't. There are, I think most of the people who live in Lake Bathurst and Torresgo, which is the next village coming up, would probably work in Goulburn. As I said, it's far enough away to, if you wanted to buy a house and land, you can do that, close enough to be commutable without being a drag. This road that goes from Goulburn through Torresgo, Lake Bathurst and then Torresgo is a shortcut which some people used to take in winter to get to the snowfields, because when you get to Torresgo, as you'll see, you can take a right-hand turn and then go to Bungendore, and then from Bungendore across to Queanbeyan and take the back road out of Queanbeyan, the old Cooma Road, and end up on the Monero Highway, having missed out a large section of Queanbeyan and missed out a large section, and not having to go through Canberra, things like that. So it was popular at one stage with people going to the ski fields. That was before the bypass was built, not the bypass, before the dual carriageway was built along Lake George. So not as many people use this road for that purpose now. But when it was a popular road for snow bunnies and ski traffic, the police used to regularly patrol the road and have a field day on Friday nights during the winter, as people headed off to the snowfields thinking that they were going this way and there'd be no police on the road. Just coming into the village of Torresgo, which I think was settled in about the 1840s. The village is called Torresgo and the car is called a Torresgo. They're both spelt the same way. Apparently the word Torresgo or Torresgo means country in the local indigenous language. But we're just coming into Torresgo. In Torresgo there's a school, which is on the right-hand side, just coming up now. There's a preschool, which is on the left-hand side. There's a pub and a shop and a service station. And then when you come to the four-way intersection, if you go right, there's a police station and housing. If you go left at this four-way intersection now, you would go up towards Lake Bathurst. The pub on the corner there is called the Loaded Dog. It's named after a story by Henry Lawson, and it's a very popular pub with motorcyclists who come from Canberra for a day Right over there, I think there's a particular club, I don't know, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a particular motorcycle club, might be the Ulysses Club or something like that, that has as one of their rides, and they ride over there from Canberra on a weekend, have lunch. Sometimes they continue from there to Braidwood perhaps, or maybe they go up the left there towards Nerriga and then Windellum. Anyway, so it's a popular place. They do meals, and I think you can get coffee there as well. So again, Torresgo is, I guess, was established as a convenience place for the people who worked on the farms, the farmers themselves and the people who worked on their farms, so that things that they needed locally, rather than having to go to Goulburn all the time, there was a convenience store there and a pub and so on. Nowadays, as I said, it's a lot of new housing going in there through subdivisions of, I think, what was agricultural land. It's now been sold off, and it's far enough out of town, out of Goulburn, that a house and land package is considerably cheaper than it would be buying it in Goulburn. So we're still on the Braidwood Road, as it's technically called here, and going east. I just saw the bloke in the caravan going past me. Always on the motorcycle, a little bit cautious about motorcycles. They're a bit like trucks in that you're not quite sure how close or how how close to get to them, or how far behind them you should stay to avoid the slipstream and the buffeting and the wind that goes with them. Truck drivers, I find, generally tend to be more aware of motorcyclists than blokes towing, not always blokes, but people towing either caravans or trailers behind there, and generally it's an SUV. One of the things I find with SUVs is that because they're so high up off the ground, when they get behind you, they have these very strong headlights that they often put on high beam, and the lights tend to hit your mirrors, and there's nothing you can do about. You haven't got that little switch that you've got in your car where you can diffuse the light. And sometimes it's, comes back in your eyes, and it makes it difficult to ride. You've got to kind of look away, but keep your eye on the road at the same time. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience or not. You see these lines of pine trees along the sides of the road here, which I'm sure were planted as windbreaks by the farmers. You can see by the sky here, it's a fairly bright sunny day that I was out. I had on all the regular motorcycle gear, dry rider jacket, dry rider pants and so on, boots, gloves, so on. I think I might have just had a light shirt and a sloppy Joe underneath that. So I was well protected from the wind. My bike has got a big screen on it and a big fairing, so the wind is kept off you. But I was comfortable but not cold. I wasn't I wasn't at any stage thinking I've got too many things on, I'm getting a bit hot and uncomfortable. I should have said at the beginning of this, at the first clip of this video, I took this ride on the day that the lockdown for regional New South Wales came into effect, and so it didn't come into effect till 5 o'clock or midnight or something on that particular day. I'd been out riding all day, and although my bike has an audio system where I can pick up AM and FM radio, I listen to music through a phone with a Bluetooth transmitter. So anyway, I wasn't listening to the radio, and I wasn't aware that we were about to go into lockdown. But even if we were, I made the video, took the ride before the lockdown came into effect. Now, even though I'm now posting these videos and we're in lockdown and I'm making the audio, the actual ride itself was before the lockdown came into effect. At the moment, I would not be able to ride more than 5 kilometres from my home. I could sort of do a round trip, but at any one point I'm not supposed to be more than 5 kilometres from my home, and I'm not supposed to leave my local government area. But I would have, on this day, have left the Goulburn Mulwaree Council area and gone into the, I think it's the Palorang Shire or Palorang Council or something like that, that is administers parts of the next local government area. Some of the families who live up where their children would go to school in Torresgo, others may well, and certainly high school students would go to school either in Goulburn, in which case they'd have to get a bus of some sort early in the morning, or they may go to high school in Braidwood. There's a central school in Braidwood. It goes to year 12 now, but it used to be a central school that went from kindergarten to year 10. It may go to year 12 now, I'm not sure. But of course, if you wanted non-government education, Catholic education for your children, or private, non-government education for your children in high school, then there's a Catholic high school in Goulburn, but there's no Catholic high school in Braidwood. We're coming up towards the end of this video clip, which will end when we're near somewhere called the Lower Boro Road. So I'll say at this point, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this section of video. Because I didn't have a specific topic to talk about, I sort of rambled on about the road and a few other things. Next time I'll try and find something a bit more specific to talk about, but I will speak to you in the next clip, which I hope will then take us either into Braidwood or certainly closer to Braidwood. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video.